Hey, good morning, Wrestling Nation, Ward Wrestling Live. Again, thank you for supporting the show. We have another amazing USA wrestler, college coach on our show again today. He's the head coach at the Pitt Panthers. He was the member 6 years on our USA team, third at the 2012 Olympic trials. He was the US national champ 2012 and 2013 and 2014. He's turned around the Pitt program to being a powerhouse. He was their 2008 national champ and two-time All-American, and I could go on and on, but that's enough. Enough said. We've got Coach Keith Gavin with the Pitt Panthers here with us on Ward Wrestling Live. Coach, man, thank you for coming on. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, it looks beautiful there in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it is. It's been we've been getting lucky. There's been some nice days. So
yeah, nice, man. Well, first of all, again, thanks for coming on. But talk about this crazy off season and
yeah,
are we starting to see things open up now in your area?
Yeah, things are starting to open up in our area. It's still a lot of uncertainty though, especially with I think people are worried about a second wave. So, that's concerning for a sport like ours because that's during our year. But, it is what it is. We're just kind of doing the best that we can during this time. And I know, our guys are doing the best they can. It's strange, but it's strange for everybody. We're not used to not being around our guys for this long, but it is what it is, like I said.
Yeah, I was talking to a coach yesterday and I said the one thing that when I ask coaches, what do they miss the most? Mm-hmm. Most of them don't say, the first thing they don't say is wrestling. They say, I just miss the kids being in the room around me.
Yeah.
I guess as head coaches at college, kids are there doing homework with you, kind of hanging out with you. Just kind of the energy of that is kind of missed. And it sounds like you're obviously the same way.
Yeah. It's just weird not to be in our own, not to be in our wrestling room for this long.
What do you think? What do you think wrestling's going to look like now? You think we're going to get some matches here this summer, tournaments here this summer, or you think,
I know that there are going to be some high level matches going on. There's one in Chicago coming up on June 28th that has some pretty high level guys wrestling each other, and so that would be pretty cool. I think there's another one coming up at the end of July, a similar event, but kind of showcase some wrestling. So that's exciting because there's not much wrestling going on. But other than those two events, I don't know of anything else.
Yeah, no, we haven't heard much either. Well, anyway, talk about your program. So you took over there the first year. You were just kind of building 4-11. 2 years ago, you go 13-3. You have a great year this year, and then Corona hits.
Mm-hmm.
But you're really turning around that program. You've brought in coaches that wrestled with you. So you're really doing a great job building the surroundings for the kids. Mm-hmm. Talk about Pitt Wrestling and how you've turned that program around and what it means to coach your alma mater and what you're doing and your philosophy and culture.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's certainly a special opportunity to be the head coach of my alma mater. It's a great job, and it's even a little more special because I went to school here. So I love Pitt. I love Pittsburgh, the city, and so being here is just a great opportunity, and I'm grateful for it. But yeah, when I got here, I think that the thing about Pitt is that we have had success. I obviously had success as an individual wrestling at Pitt, and had some teammates that had success as well. And we've had plenty of All-Americans, and, they've had plenty of national champions. So it's not like it hasn't been done before. It wasn't like you're trying to start from scratch, really. And it was just, like me getting there is just getting the right guys in the program. And we got lucky with a couple guys that transferred in right away. Just based off, we're in a great area. So those guys want to come home and we had some relationships with them, some prior relationships with them. So that worked out. And that kind of really got the ball rolling for us. So even though that first year maybe wasn't, our record didn't look too good, we still felt pretty good about what was going to happen. Because we were getting just, we could see that things were going well, and we had some kids on the team. We had some older kids on that team that were that were just hard workers and they're just the right kind of kids, So everything's contagious, and sometimes it takes a little while to build, and we kind of knew that our third year, this past year, was going to be our best year. Just the way that was, it was just kind of the way things were shaping up. And obviously, unfortunately, coronavirus hit and we didn't get to finish the season, but it was going that way. I mean, we had some, we lost a couple dual meets, maybe we shouldn't, but we had some big dual meet wins. We had some guys get some big individual wins, and we had a lot of guys seated at the national tournament. So, things were kind of going according to plan, I'd say. And really it's just about, again, just having people who are passionate about wrestling and competing, guys that love to wrestle and love to compete. And then that just catches on. My coaching staff is that way, me and Coach Lean and Coach Headley, and now Luke Pletcher's our volunteer assistant, but we're all pretty, we're all a bunch of wrestleheads. We love wrestling, and when, we love competition, and I think that it all got to start from the top, so that kind of trickles down into the team, and we have some kids on the team that are that way too, that like that mindset. And so then once you have that, I think it's just, you kind of allow them to learn and develop, and we help when we can, but really we're just kind of the guide, and you don't want to get in the way too much,
Yeah, I mean, that's well, you're obviously doing something right. That is a program that had a lot of success. I was reading about it, and then it kind of took a little dip there. And I think you bringing back that Pitt culture and that Pitt aura probably obviously made a difference. So good for you, Coach. Glad you're doing well there. I know you're, I think I heard as of yesterday, you guys are allowed to kind of talk to recruits again, or kind of be back out on the trail. So,
well, we're always able to call recruits. Yesterday, what happened was the first day we can call kids in the 2022 class. So that's June 15th is the first day you can call that class. We aren't allowed to get out because of coronavirus. There's a recruiting dead period, so we can't go out and see kids no matter what class they're in, and we can't bring them on campus. So that goes until July 31st. But it was supposed to be June 30th. It was May 30th, whatever, and then June 30th, and now July 31st. So it just keeps getting pushed back. So who knows?
Oh, well, hopefully we'll get through this. So when you and your guys hit the recruiting trail, or you send your coaches out, what kind of intangibles are you looking for a kid to be a Pitt wrestler, and for kids, local to Pitt, or have family that were to Pitt and want to come there? What should they be doing?
Well, I think that, kind of like what I was saying earlier in describing our philosophy or the culture of the team is, we want kids that love wrestling and love to compete, and I think that maybe that sounds obvious, but it's not so much, where you might have a guy who's winning, but he doesn't really love it. Maybe he's just more mature, more gifted at that time, because high school kids just develop at a different rate, and once you get to college, sometimes that evens out. But so that's what we're looking for, and you see that in the way that they compete, the way that guys compete. Are they always getting after it, or are they are they running from good competition? Are they trying to hang on, to a lead? Or they calling injury time to get a break? Things like that. Those last couple of things, those are indicators that maybe they don't really love it. A big part of it is seeing how they train, and for us, again, we're in a good location with Western PA, and Pennsylvania in general is really, a big hotbed for wrestling. Ohio, we're really close to Northeast Ohio, and that's a hotbed for wrestling. So we're able to get to see these kids train, and in the whole Northeast, really. I mean, we're not that far from New Jersey and New York. And so we're in a really good area, and we do we nationally recruit too. We got a kid coming in next year from California. So, we'll take a guy from anywhere, but our location is definitely a big advantage when it comes to recruiting, because we're allowed to get around, we're just able to get around these kids a little easier and see what they're really about. And are they really about it, or are they not,
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. And so as a parent, when you guys are recruiting our kids, I know a lot of parents understand that you want our athlete, and we want them to get an education. So what are you doing academically to make sure that you keep these kids focused on the right track and make sure their head is in the right direction and their mind is right to be able to perform academically as well?
Yeah, well, our university has a lot of things in place for student athletes. We're in a Power Five conference, and so with that, there's a lot of resources. We have our own wrestling academic advisor that will help you schedule classes. There's a student athlete academic center where you have, when kids come in their freshman year, they have mandatory, we place mandatory study hours on them that they have to hit every week. And then once after that first year, if they do well, then we lift those. There's no need. They're proven that they can handle it, so they can do what they want. But if not, we might have to increase the study hours or to look at something different. But they have access to tutors, things like that, and that's all in that student athlete academic center. They have their ID, they swipe in, so we know when they're there. They swipe out, we know when they leave. So really, a lot of that is just in place with our university. And Pitt is it's the #1 public school in the Northeast. So it's we're gonna have to get. You got to be a pretty decent student to get in to Pitt. Even with wrestling credentials. So a lot of that stuff kind of, we just kind of stay on top of the guys, and a lot of it's just reminding them, hey, make sure you get your study hours in. But usually the guys that are doing well in wrestling are also the guys that we don't have to worry about in school. How you do something's how you do everything. And that's kind of what we found to be true, is that our guys that are winning for us on the mat are also, no problem in the classroom.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And I know, because just from doing the show, I hear some feedback, and I know that's one of the big questions that is always asked when I'm talking to college coaches, whether it's a Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA, NCAA, whatever. Parents obviously love their wrestler, but they also know that college is for the next 40 years. So make sure they're around the right people to do that. Hey, Bud Hennenball said, really good to see Coach Gavin on today. He brought his team down to the Southern Scuffle last year. It was great to have him down there. You gonna head down there again?
No, I don't think so. I think it's tough to say again, because we don't know, we still really don't know exactly what the season looks like with this whole thing going on. But we're planning on going to the Cliff King tournament in Vegas in early December. But who knows? Who knows what's going to take place. And
yeah, little by little.
Yeah.
Hey, so part of your career prior to coaching as an athlete is you got to represent the United States of America and be a USA wrestler. Talk about what that's like to be a kid that gets that opportunity and be around that type of facilities and travel the world, but just to wear that USA on your back. It's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah, it was an awesome experience. We literally got to travel the world. When you're on the national team, which is the top 3 in the U.S., most of the years that I competed after college, I was on the national team. So you get to go on those trips, whether it's the World Cup or just some tournament in Russia or Eastern European country. And so I've been to a lot of different countries for wrestling, and it was just a really cool experience. And you get to experience some things, even outside of wrestling, just culturally, that are pretty eye-opening. But yeah, from the wrestling standpoint, it was just a matter of, when I was coming through high school, I wasn't really a blue chip recruit. I was pretty good, but not a blue chip guy. And then I got to college, and I just got a lot better. And a lot of that was just due to the fact that, again, like I was saying earlier about what we look for in recruits, is just I loved wrestling. I just wanted to kind of like master my craft, and that was really the motivating thing. So that didn't stop, once my senior year completed in college. I knew that I wasn't, I knew that there was still more to do, and the more that I could learn and get better at. And so I pursued wrestling internationally, and it was just a lot of fun. It's a higher level, it's like you first round at the US Open, you might wrestle a guy that was an All-American national champ in college. And so, but again, when your motivation is to master your craft, that's kind of what that's a lot of fun. You know, that's what you're in it for. So I really enjoyed it. And, you know, I miss it really. You know, I love coaching, and there's no better feeling than seeing one of your student athletes overcome something and succeed. But at the same time, I mean, I still miss competing and wrestling, because, you know, there's also nothing like that.
Yeah, I had a high school coach on. He's out in Iowa now, but his son I think he's going into his freshman year, and has been traveling the world with like the juniors, I guess. They've got,
Yeah.
like, a junior program. And he said he went to India.
Oh yeah.
And he said at first when he got there, he was like, this is not for me, right? But then when he got to the wrestling aspect, he was like, wow, the culture here was totally different. They wrestled in dirt. They had to bless the land. They did things a lot differently. And he was like, wow, just to learn this is how they wrestle here, something different culture-wise was pretty cool. I don't know if you've been there, but.
No, I've never been to India. You know, I've been to a lot of Eastern European countries. I've been to things in Russia like 9 times, all different parts of Russia, but it is cool, and it makes you grateful for what you have here in the States, that's for sure.
That's awesome. Well, again, great career. Congratulations. And now you're doing big things by giving back to the sport. And I think by having this platform now and getting to talk to a lot of you guys and girls, I think giving back always seems to be something that's most important to you guys. So I'm glad to see that's happening, and that's how the sport grows, from my understanding. What's your most memorable moments, or something that sticks out to you, or that big match, or a moment you said, man, I belong? I don't know, something to that effect.
Oh man. You mean, and like as an athlete in my competitive career?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't know. There's a couple of them. I think that, it wasn't like, the beginning of my collegiate career was a little bit rough. Like it wasn't going, as well as I would have liked, and I was kind of taking my lumps, and sometimes losing close matches and things like that. And also having trouble finding what weight class I should be in and things like that. And then in my 3rd year, I went to the Midlands tournament, and that was kind of my breakout, of when I was like, okay, this is going well. I kind of got validated at that tournament where, I didn't win. I think I got 4th, but I beat a couple guys that were all Americans. And then that was, again, that was kind of, some reassurance that, this is certainly doable, but there was, that was kind of the first time when I was like, all right, I'm going to be all right. I'm going to do well, but I don't know. There's a lot of moments in your career that stand out when you ask that question, and a lot of it comes from, some of the losses that I had, it was not so much like maybe you forget the highlights, and the things that stick out are the ones that, where you lose, because those are kind of, life-changing in a way,
That's funny, because all the guys tell me the same thing. Very rarely. Like Nato mentioned a win that he had his freshman year over a 2-timer that was like, okay, I can compete here. But for the most part, everybody I asked the question to talks about a loss they had, or a tournament they lost, or a guy they lost to that became the reason why they were like, okay, I need to change this, or I need to work harder, or it was that changing moment in their career.
Yeah, I lost my junior year. I had a good year, and I got 2nd at nationals, and I lost to Ben Askren, who's now gone on to do good things and made the Olympic team, and then he was an MMA fighter. But that was a big turning point for me, of learning that. I lost him a couple times. I lost him twice before that, but it was like I always felt like, I got caught in something, or I kind of made excuses for it, and then I really thought I was going to win in the finals, and it was going well until the end. And I remember thinking, like, after that, I learned that, like, okay, like I lost to that guy just because he was more prepared to win than I was mentally. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like up until that point, I was treating it kind of like almost entirely skill based, like, well, I'm going to beat this guy because I know more than he does, and a lot of times that was the case, in college, where it was just like, I just wrestled all the time. So I was very comfortable in a lot of different positions. So I felt like no matter what happens, like I'm going to know what to do and he might not. Right. And so that's where a lot of confidence came from. But when I wrestled Ben, I remember thinking like I had him again, like his back against the wall in a position, in a position in a match where he wasn't used to. And then the way he responded was like, all right, this guy's, he's the real deal as far as a competitor goes, and that's when I learned like that it's you got to be ready for that no matter who you're up against. Usually I would, even if the guy was good, I'd wrestle him and you could kind of feel when they would give a little bit, you know what I mean? When you get him to a certain point and you could kind of feel like, all right, he's done, and with Ben, like I felt like I should have had him at that point, but it didn't come, the third period it was tied and he got called for stalling, and he was a guy that never got called for stalling, and I thought like, all right, I'm gonna get this guy, but he went to like a different gear, and he like refocused himself and got to my leg and ended up putting me on my back and scrambled, but anyways, that was a big one in my collegiate career where I was like, all right, there's a level to just being a mentally there's levels to being mentally tough is what I kind of learned in that.
I think that's like the biggest thing that I've been learning a lot. Brent Branson, thank you for sharing the struggle and growth path. I'm going to share this with my son. So yeah, and it's crazy because don't people say like Askren wasn't that guy that was always in the best shape or always?
He was always in really good shape. Like he never got tired. He just wasn't like very physically dominant. Like he was a really good scrambler and he never got tired and he was good on top. So that was kind of his game. But after wrestling him a couple of times, I thought like, well, I can kind of pick him apart on my feet because I'm not going to allow myself to get into those scrambles, But anyways, yeah, it was just kind of like I learned, there's levels to, like, I thought I was pretty mentally tough and I was to a certain degree, but there was a different level of like, when you're in a match like that of buckling down and finding a way to win, where up to that point, it was just like, I was mentally tough because I can endure a lot, like I wouldn't break, but there was, from that, from competing against him, I learned, and other guys like him. I mean, especially in my international career, you run into that a lot. You wrestle guys that are world Olympic champions, but yeah, you got to be ready to find a way to win.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Machiavello.
Yeah.
He said, my first 2 years, I was just terrible in college. Like I was getting whooped, right? Mm-hmm. And then he said, but I was always bigger and stronger than everybody. But I realized that I needed to study wrestling more.
Yeah.
So he had to change kind of his understanding and adjust the same way. So then he ended up obviously doing really good things. So
yeah.
When did you start? Brent Branson is asking, when did you start wrestling freestyle?
I think I was in 8th grade when I started. I had a really good club in my area that brought in a lot of great clinicians and things like that. And that club, it's called Northeast Freestyle Greco-Roman, and it was in Pittston, at Pittston area high school, but by Wilkes-Barre, PA. But that club is kind of really what gave me, where I caught the bug for wrestling, because I was exposed to a lot of high level wrestling, and that's when up until that point, I thought kind of what you were saying, Machiavelli was saying, was like, if you were just big and strong, you're going to beat the guy who's not, which at probably at a certain age, that's true. But then I learned that, from the clinicians and things like that got brought into this club, it was like, well, there's a whole nother, this is really an art, this is an art form, and I could figure something out here. And so that was kind of where that all started.
Yeah. And it's helped me because I know the coaches deal with my kid and I don't, but I did, from some of the stuff that I've done here, I told him, I go, he's such a wrestling head or whatever you guys call it. Cause he watches video, he watches those things. He does the moves, he works on it, but he's he's never been strong yet, So this off season, he's gone from walking around at 140 to right now he's walking around at 154, but his mind still isn't there. And I keep telling him, you've got, you've been taught a lot of good things, but you lost to your strength. But now you're strong enough. But mentally, when you get ready to say, okay, I'm going into a match and they have to wrestle me, not I have to wrestle them, which I'm learning through this, and I'm trying to pass on to him. It makes a difference. And I've had a lot of great coaches on here, like yourself, tell me how they coach, not their kids, but their kids, right? They're wrestlers. And it's been cool for me because maybe I'm saying the wrong thing as a parent. And then now through this, when he gets off the mat, I can understand more now. I can see more now, and I can be like, hey, well, that's the way it goes, right? So move on.
Yeah.
All right, cool, man. Well, I got some questions for you. You ready?
Yeah, sure.
All right, Klondike bar or Clark bar?
Klondike. I don't know what a Clark bar is.
I don't know. It says that it's the chocolate bar of Pittsburgh. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I'll go Klondike.
Yeah. All right, Bork or Sid the Kid?
Oh, Sid. Yeah.
Pierogies or raviolis?
Oh, raviolis.
Pittsburgh guy going raviolis.
I'm not from Pittsburgh, so it's I went to school here and stuff, but I'm from Scranton, so
raviolis it is.
Yeah.
Bradshaw or Big Ben?
Big Ben.
Carnegie Museum or the Science Center?
I'll say Carnegie Museum. I don't know if I've ever been to either of those. I'll say
Steelers or Penguins?
Steelers.
Chipped ham or fried zucchini?
What was the first one?
Chipped ham sandwich?
Okay, chipped ham.
Pie Express or Alex's Corner?
I don't know either of those. Sorry.
Oh, okay, no problem. I look in the area, Duquesne Incline or Phipps Conservatory?
I'll do the incline. Phipps is cool, but I don't know. It's more for my wife than me. The incline.
Okay. All right, so they say that the big things in the two sandwiches in Pittsburgh is either the Promonti Brothers sandwich or the Pitt kielbasa.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll go Permanis just because it's the popular thing to say, but I do think Permanis is overrated, so I'll throw that out there.
So you're going street kielbasa.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably go kielbasa too. I don't know if I'm a big sauerkraut fan, but
yeah, I do like Permanis. It just gets hyped up a lot.
Yeah, it's probably like I lived in Philly for a while, and you hear Gino's and Pat's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those are my questions. But I kind of researched the area that you guys are in, so I just kind of ask the questions. And sometimes everybody knows them, and sometimes they don't. But it's fun for me to educate myself on the area.
Yeah. You might have better luck with. You said you're gonna have Drew on.
Yeah, he comes on at 1.
He's more of a Pittsburgh guy than I am. He grew up around here.
Oh, I'm gonna ask him the same questions. So.
Yeah. He might have better answers than me.
That's okay. Anything? Any questions you want me to ask him?
No, whatever you want. He's an open book. So
cool. Well, I'm excited. I had a gentleman on yesterday. Was it yesterday? That wrestled for Lehigh and coaches over at Quest, and and spent a lot of time with Drew.
Yeah, Mason, right?
Yeah, Mason. So I told him.
Yeah, Drew used to coach at Lehigh. Yeah.
Yes, it was a great guy to talk to. So it was fun having him on, and
yeah,
I'm sure you're familiar with Quest being a coach that recruits kids. So.
Yeah, they're a great club.
All right, man. Well, hey, I appreciate it, Coach. And if there's anything that I can ever be of assistance with from my show or whatever, feel free to hit me up. If you guys start opening up and you want to shout out some camps or whatever you're doing for the country, let me know, man. We'll get on.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. Have a great day. It's beautiful there, so enjoy the weather.
Yeah, thanks.